Welcome to tonight's Select Board meeting, Tuesday, November 12th. It's 5 p.m. and we're going to get started. Okay, first up on our agenda is appointments. We have a 5 p.m. Board of Assessors tax clarification hearing. Classification hearing.
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify. Yep, so we do this every year. Here we are again.
Should we, since it's a public hearing, should we read the notice?
That would be, yeah, we have it on
Page 2, yep.
Page 2.
Yep.
So this first part is sort of just a disclaimer for everything, that the point of tonight is basically we're not here to set the tax rate or any of that. It hasn't been approved yet by the DOR. We're just going to, you're going to hear our information to decide on the factor to allocate the tax levy. So, somewhere here.
So in basic English, it means we're looking to have a one tax rate or a multiple tax rate.
Well, it's written pretty clearly here on the.
So here's our notice of hearing.
Okay. Oh, okay.
There it is. Okay, so do you want us to?
Yeah, I mean, it's there, yeah. Joan or Larry, will you read the hearing notice into the record?
Oh, okay. Notice of hearing, Town of Buckland fiscal year 2025 tax classification hearing, Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, 5 p.m. The Buckland Select Board will hold a tax classification hearing on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 5 p.m. at the Buckland Town Hall, 17 State Street, Buckland, Mass. This hearing is held to determine whether a uniform tax rate will be maintained for residential, commercial, and industrial properties, and whether a residential and or small commercial exemption will be approved for fiscal year 2025. Okay, submitted by the Board of Assessors, yes.
Yes.
Pamela
Here we are
Elizabeth
tonight.
Rowe, yes.
Yes. Yep. Marion is not with us tonight, but we talked about all of this at our last board meeting. So Liz and I are here to represent and answer any questions you two may have. So just to review, I know we talked about this last year, but every 5 years, we have to make sure our property assessments are at 100% of fair market value, and those are certified by the Department of Revenue. This year was not a recertification year. Our next one is in FY27, so we still have another year to go before we're having more discussion that will have to happen. Every year, however, we do still need to make interim adjustments to bring assessments to 100% of fair market value.
How do you do that, Pam?
So we do that by mostly by analyzing sales in Buckland. And you'll notice a little plug for our bulletin board that we have in the hall downstairs. And Liz has done a great job of adding another bulletin board across the way that really helps to explain how your assessments are arrived at, how the market plays into that, what happens in terms of like Proposition 2.5. The bulletin board on one side of the hall shows all the sales for this year that were arm's length that are used to determine the assessed values. So we have to report all of this sales information to the Department of Revenue every year, even though it's not a 5-year certification. It's still an interim adjustment. So once we've done that, which we have, and we have received approval from the DOR of our values, we now have to have our classification hearing, which is what we're doing tonight. And do you want to talk about what the purpose is?
Could I ask you another question?
Oh, sure.
So on the 5 years, then will all properties be reviewed? Is that how you do?
So, no, so properties are continually being reviewed.
Okay.
So there's basically a 10-year cycle, so that
Okay.
every property in Buckland in that has a 10-year cycle. So if we went and visited your property, say in 2020, we have to go again before 2030. So we're constantly, every year, we're looking at building permits annually. So if anyone pulls a building permit to do any kind of new construction, those are looked at annually. And they're continued to be looked at until the work is complete. And then there's a chunk of the town every year that is looked at in that 10-year rotation.
So you divide it like into like 1/10 of the
Right.
properties.
And that's been ongoing, so.
And what if people don't take building permits and they do renovations that make their property more valuable.
Well, that's why we try to catch them in that 10-year period. And, you know, we certainly get word from people who live in a neighborhood where they may see something that they think might not have had a permit. And we're happy to communicate with the building inspector's office to see if it's something they're aware of. Because we, you know, beyond capturing the value and making it fair, we want to make sure that it's safe as well. You know, if people are finishing basements and don't have the proper egress and that sort of thing, that's where the building inspector has to have some oversight as well. So we try to get out there and keep an eye on things, but we're, you know, certainly welcome to hear from others who may see something that we may have missed.
Just
So.
curious, I know we have a small department. You can't be just going around spying on everybody.
Right.
It wouldn't go over very well.
No.
They hire spies.
Yeah. So anyway, so I guess we'll let, you want to talk?
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, we're happy to answer questions.
So the purpose of coming here today for the classification hearing is for the select board to vote on available tax policies and classification exemptions. And to be clear, like a tax policy is a selection of a CIP factor, single or split tax rate. And the classification exemption options are residential exemption and small commercial exemption.
We'll go on.
Those two, you said the exemptions were the ones that would be affected by a split tax rate, would that basically be it?
So the split tax rate is one thing you're deciding on
Yeah,
tonight,
yeah.
which would be single or split.
Correct.
You also need to decide on residential, whether you're going to grant a residential exemption or a small commercial exemption. They're three separate
Okay.
things. And we're going to break that down for you now to explain what each of those things are. Want me to go, or you?
Sure.
Okay, so when we're talking about a single or split tax rate, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56 is what allows the Select Board to vote to tax all classes at the same rate by adopting a minimum commercial, industrial, personal property, or CIP factor of 1, or a shift, which would be establishing different rates in the tax burden between property classes. So the property classes we're talking about here would be residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property. The adoption of different tax rates for the different classes of properties does not change the total tax levy for the community. It simply determines the share to be borne by each class. So essentially, if you were to shift the tax rate to like the commercial and industrial and personal property class of properties in town, they would pay a higher tax rate than the residential properties would be paying. Historically, the town has not had a split tax rate due to the small percentage of the tax levy within that commercial, industrial, and personal property class. Currently, the levy is broken down where 85.1286% is residential and 14.8714 is commercial and industrial. Fiscal '24, in the state of Massachusetts, had only 108 of the 351 communities voting to have a split tax rate. So it's not super common, except for the communities that do have a really large percentage of commercial and industrial property.
Cities like Boston.
I mean, Irving has a split rate. So I mean, there are some around here, but they have a much higher percentage of industrial, commercial.
Is Deerfield?
property. I'm not positive.
Listed.
I'm not sure. I'm not positive on that. Rowe does as well, because they have a much larger, with a power plant and everything up there, they have a much higher
No
percentage.
longer a power plant, but
But the property, well, there's still Bear Swamp.
yeah.
There's still generation up there.
85% of their tax rate,
Yeah,
taxes are
so
paid by that.
that's why a community might choose that.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing you guys are gonna be voting on. The next thing is the residential discount. Do you wanna read about that?
Sure. Presently, there are 15 municipalities out of the 351 that have a high percentage of rental properties. In fiscal year 2024, the following communities adopted this exemption: Barnstable, Boston, Brookline, Cambridge, Chelsea, Everett, Malden, Nantucket, Provincetown, Somerville, Tisbury, Truro, Waltham, Watertown, and Wellfleet. This exemption does not change the total taxable value for residential properties. This exemption shifts the tax burden between the owner-occupied and the rental properties. But Buckland taxpayers would not benefit from this exemption due to the majority of residential properties being owner-occupied.
So you'll notice a lot of those towns are on the Cape.
Right.
Where they have a high percentage of, summer residents and properties that are owned by out-of-town people. We're not at that point yet. I mean, who knows? Someday maybe we will. But right now, we primarily have the majority of our properties.
When we become
owner-occupied.
beachfront property.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So that's one of the other things you're deciding on is the residential discount. And then the small commercial discount is the last thing you're talking about tonight. And basically, any commercial parcel with a valuation less than $1 million that is occupied solely by businesses with an average annual employment of no more than 10 people or who qualify. We provide a confidential list each year from the Division of Unemployment Assistance that tells us how many employees this is. For fiscal '25, we had less than 6 employers in Buckland with an average of 10 or fewer employees. This exemption also would not change the total taxation for commercial properties. It would lower the taxable valuation on the properties that qualify by 10% and shift the remaining tax burden between all other commercial and industrial properties. This exemption does not benefit the small business owner, but the owner of the real estate. And there were only 14 communities who adopted that in fiscal '24. Again, we don't have a large number of these employers. The last thing that we need to provide to you during this meeting is what the excess levy capacity was. For the current fiscal year, we're looking at $43,400.93. And for the prior fiscal year, we had $37,284.40 of excess levy capacity.
Could you explain what that is?
So basically, it's I'm not the best at explaining this, but it's what was left over from what was approved for the levy, basically. It's kind of what money wasn't spent, kind of. I don't know.
So, let me take a stab at
take a
this.
stab at it.
Okay. So only because I've been knee-deep in the
Yes, you have.
spreadsheet all day. So, the amount of money that we are allowed to raise each year changes by 3 factors. One is the amount that we raised the year before, which then we add our 2.5%. For us, that's usually about $111,000. Next year, it'll be $119,000. So the 2.5% isn't a significant add-on, if you will. But we also can add our new growth, which is anything that we have picked up since the January 1st date, in which new parcels of land.
New buildings, new construction of any type.
Yeah, any modifications. And so those 3, and that's we typically project $40,000 for new growth within our budget projections. This year, we had a great year, $67,000, I believe. So again, that $67,000 plus the $119,000 plus the amount, which is in about $4.6 million. That becomes our levy. And that is how much money we have to spend, right? And then we'll do our budget, and we'll add, all the expenses, including our operating expenses, any debt that is not outside of the 2.5. So much of our debt is outside of the 2.5, but there is some that is still within. And the payments on said debt, that is included, and that total is subtracted by what we're allowed to raise is our excess levy capacity. And we try to increase that amount a little bit each year, because that is basically, if something was to come up in September or October that we didn't anticipate, knowing that we have a little bit of levy capacity there, a little room to spend on emergency circumstances that we wouldn't necessarily want to tap into our stabilization for. It also is a significant indicator of your community's health. The more excess levy capacity that you have, the more you can grow your services without looking at overrides or without looking at, other sources of revenue that are outside of the three that we've just talked about. There's a much more sophisticated way to explain all that, and I know that those at home that are listening may question whether or not I know what I'm talking about, but that's the way that I've come down to understand it. It's the amount of money that we have available, that we're choosing not to spend, and it also means that's an amount of money that we're choosing not to ask the taxpayers to appropriate either. So if the amount of money that we have to spend versus the amount of money that we actually spend, it's the actually spend portion that we're taxing, that we're passing along to the taxpayers. So again, more is better. There are some schools of thought that you're leaving money on the table, but quite honestly, that money on the table is a significant indicator of a community's financial well-being. So, as you can see, we're really working hard on inching that number up a little bit at a time. If we can get up to $50,000, make me happy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So essentially, our kind of recommendations have been, are for this year, to adopt a single tax rate. Given that the large percentage of our tax base is residential, a split rate would burden the smaller percentage of commercial, industrial, and personal properties at this time. Historically, we've always voted in a single rate. We would also recommend voting no to adopt the residential exemption. It benefits the communities with a high number of vacation homes, which is not something we have. And also voting no to adopt the small commercial exemption. It's, again, we just don't have that kind of volume of small commercial entities. So that is our presentation. Any more questions?
That was well done, thank you.
You're thinking.
No.
Okay. He's trying to come up with a good one. Okay, so now it's back to the select board to make their official votes.
Okay, but we're supposed to close the hearing before voting anyway, so we're going to officially say now that the hearing is closed. And any audience members, okay.
Do we have to second that, or?
No, I think that's just procedure, so.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
We wouldn't have to do that, so. So, now we shall vote, right? And just the two of us, we're going to have to go that way.
Okay.
The recommendation is for a vote to adopt a single tax rate.
Second that?
Okay. All in favor? Aye, okay, that's in. Second one is to vote no to adopt a residential exemption.
Second that?
And once again, no, okay, we'll take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
And third is to vote no to adopt a small commercial exemption.
Second that?
Good second. Moved and seconded. Ready for discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote on that. No.
Oh, we gotta, do we say aye?
You already did aye.
No, vote no to adopt it, so,
Oh, okay, what do you want to say again?
so if he's voting no,
Well, to say no to adopt a small commercial exemption. That's
Don't
what
you
we're
say
voting.
yes to the motion?
will we say yes
Yes
to the motion? We said aye on the second one. It's confusing, it really is.
Yes. Well, in other words, we're
Would you
going.
like you move not to
Yeah,
adopt a
because-
commercial?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then all those in favor of voting not to, say aye. I think.
Except we have no one here.
Motion should technically be made in the affirmative, and then you
Yeah,
vote them down.
yeah, that's right. It's
Yeah.
a strange thing to nose there, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what we want, so.
So we're both unanimous that we're voting no on the
Correct.
adoption of the small commercial success rate. Okay, yeah, okay,
You agree?
I agree.
I agree too. Okay.
Okay.
So there's our recommendations, which I don't know what happens now. What does?
So what happens now is there's, it's called the LA5. It's one of the forms I have to submit to the Department of Revenue. That basically will break down what these votes were. Alicia has to sign off that the meeting was properly posted. The Board of Assessors signs off that that was the outcome. And then I can go forward with putting in the other forms that set the tax rate for FY25. So that is basically where we're at this point.
And we don't ever have to get back together again or anything like that.
Nope.
Not that we
Not
don't
for
like
another
to,
year.
we enjoy it a lot.
Not for another year.
Next year, right after.
We won't show up again for a year unless you really want us to or something. But yes,
Is that a promise?
it probably is a promise.
No, we're glad you're there
I'm
doing
not sure who's
that.
up for re-election next year. Might be Marion. It's me?
I think it's you.
Oh. Well,
I know
maybe
it's
I will
not
be
me.
back next year. I don't know, we'll see.
It will be.
Don't even think about it.
It's for life.
Right.
We put a lot of work into you.
Really? We're a work in progress, Larry, you know that.
Yes, and a good one.
And we appreciate the work.
Yes.
All right, so everyone can be rest assured that those tax bills will be coming out probably in December
Yeah.
and due February 1st. And if
wait,
anyone
never
has
mind.
issues with their assessed values, they apply for an abatement, and that is also due February 1st. So, and they can come see us in the assessor's office if they have any questions. Happy to help. Right?
Yes. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
And I definitely encourage anybody that is interested in the behind the scenes of this process, the bulletin board that the office, Liz in particular, has put together is very informative. It's very well done, and it's worth a visit to take a look at it. So please, I'd like to expand the idea with more bulletin boards and more explanations.
It's like,
Because,
yeah,
because
a lot of
I think there's a lot of really valuable information there. And then, there's information available at the DLS, the local services website. But what Pam and Liz and Marion have done is made it very personal to Buckland.
Buckland, yes.
And so
Knows
it's,
that.
yeah, it's,
Yeah. I mean,
very good.
our door is always open. We're happy to answer any questions. We don't operate, in a vacuum. I mean, we have very set rules set by the state that we have to follow, and we're happy to share all of that information with anyone that has questions. And, transparency is really important, I think, to all of us. And, we're taxpayers too. And, we take pride in our work. So we're happy to talk to anyone who has questions.
Before we go, because I was teasing you, you do an excellent job. You really do a great job, and answered all my questions already.
Good.
So, and I still have to pay my taxes.
Yep, we all do. All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good night.
You too.
thank you, ladies. Yeah.
Okay. All right, now we can move on to our agenda items. Next, we have the Board of Register appointment for Sharon Gilmore. Okay, I got this in here.
This is just a, and you may not even have anything in
No,
your,
we might.
in your packet. I think the motion is on your agenda, just a vote to appoint Sharon as an election registrar. It is a position that we have not had filled. I believe she represents the Republican Party, and that has not been a slot that we've had for some time. So it's great that she stepped forward. Had we been audited by the Elections Commission, we would have had a knock for not having somebody in that position all these years, so we're really, it's great that she's stepped forward.
Great, then I'll make a motion to appoint Sharon Gilmore as Register of Voters.
And I second that.
Okay, and it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. And well, it's unanimous to two of us, yes. Still unanimous. Okay. Next thing is the Verizon pole location easement agreement on Avery Road. The request is necessary to provide a new primary line extension for the construction of a new home on Avery Road and to provide for the distribution of intelligence and telecommunications and the transmission of high and low voltage electric current. So I think I see the little map here, what they're doing, so.
And this is for a new home that's being constructed on Avery Road and will service
Good.
that.
So, okay, I'm going to make a motion to grant a joint poll petition from Verizon New England Incorporated and N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, to locate a jointly owned pole numbered T-37.5E12M on the north side of Avery Road at a point approximately 3,663 feet westerly from the center line of Charlemont Road and 180 feet easterly from existing pole T37E12.
Second that?
Any further discussion on it?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will, that has been unanimously approved.
Okay.
You know, that's quite a bit you gotta do just a poll, you know? Amazing. Not to drift off, but is Avery Road coming along?
It is. I've got
Talk to that later on.
I've got a great update
Okay,
for you on
we'll
that
wait on
one.
that then, thank you. We'll wait on that. Okay, next we have FY26 budget memo review and approval. Budget memo approval. It has been a few years since the Select Board and the Finance Committee have issued a pre-budget message to department heads, boards, and committees, and we're looking to bring that tradition back this year. Okay, so they've come up with a motion to approve the draft FY26 memo as prepared by the Finance Committee and authorize the town administrator to distribute the memo to town employees, boards, and committees.
I second that?
Okay? And a little discussions, I gotta look this over just for a second myself.
Yeah, no, we're, the Finance Committee put it together, and they will issue it, or they would like to issue it jointly with the Select Board, so that it's a,
It goes to the town meeting, it's correct, that's what's in May.
They give this kind of information in,
Yeah, that's great, yes, it is. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a motion.
and I second it, so now we just have to vote.
Second, yeah, we just have to vote. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and we'll post this online too for residents.
Oh, you post it online for residents, too, that's a good idea, because it's well done, so it certainly explains.
Who pulled it together?
Ultimately, the person who pulls it all together, Larry Langford.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now we're down to, if we look at our, up here, we've moved on, budget memo review, so that's all taken care of. Okay, documents to sign, we have the waste management contract amendment and extension. I'm going to make a motion to approve the conditions of an amendment to the waste management contract, which called for an increase of 3.5% in trash recycle fees for Buckland. This contract amendment will impact the other towns committed to the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District and will extend the agreement for another 5 years.
Can I make a little correction? You said recycle, it's disposal.
Oh, sorry, trash disposal, yeah, okay, these in Buckland, yeah.
I
Now,
second.
is this, any further discussion?
Well, I think I give kudos to the amount of negotiation
Right.
that went into this, Getting rid of trash is not
Is that
cheap.
that's for our recycle center, and
Yep.
that's what, it's only, that's a small increase, that's good.
Yeah, well, they'd come in double digits, so it was,
Yeah.
and I think that the Solid Waste Management District does a great job looking out for all of the communities
Oh,
that participate. But I also think they've been very fair to the vendor, and which is important. I think that we have to recognize that these companies are also trying to pay their employees a fair wage, and keep their lights on, and there's no doubt that the cost of getting rid of our trash is getting more expensive, and
And every year they.
And every year.
The thing that you can't dispose of or.
Right. Right, it's an incredibly complicated industry, and if Buckland was having to sort of negotiate this on our own, I think we'd be in trouble. So it's a good contract. It's a 3.5% increase over the contract that we've had for the last 5 years. And if I remember, this was one of my first town meetings, because as a select board, you can't sign a contract for more than 3 years. So we had a town meeting, and you probably were both there, and we executed a contract through the town meeting that allowed you for a 10-year contract with a 5-year extension. And so this is just a continuation of that original town meeting authorization.
We'll just have to brought to the town meeting.
No, town meeting already authorized the original contract.
Okay.
And this is just part of the extension and amendment process.
Okay. Next, thank you.
Yep.
Next, we have permits and licenses.
We have to vote.
Did we vote?
You moved it, I don't think
moved
Joan
it, and I
We
seconded
seconded.
moved it and seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Joan.
No problem.
Okay, next we'll look at permits and licenses. First is a street use permit, Wellington Street. Let's see, Kim Klein wants to place a 10-yard roll-off container at the end of Wellington Street for 1 week. Okay, Wellington doesn't affect, I'm trying to think that's,
No.
I don't think that's going to affect anything, in other words,
Yeah.
traffic or anything,
Yeah,
so.
I did reach out to public safety. I reached out to highway, police, fire. I also asked the water district and the sewer district to make sure that they don't have any work planned
Right.
in that area, and I didn't hear back that anybody had any concerns. So
when someone does it, do they have to have like cones in the street so that people are?
if you would like to add a condition, because we certainly have plenty of cones that we can loan them.
I'm just concerned that,
Yeah.
it's dark.
Yeah,
and
no.
we'll- I
Happy-
have no idea what these roll off, if they have, any kind of, like. Reflective,
Yeah.
thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Reflective pieces in there, and I would hate for someone to
Well,
just.
I don't think
let's make that a condition.
Yeah, we certainly can. That's a good idea. We're going to add that to the motion that when we do it, that we're going to make a motion to approve permit application from Kim Klein to place a 10-yard roll-off container at the end of Wellington Street for 1 week. And the container will have to have some reflective material or cones placed around it.
Perfect.
I
Thank you.
second that.
Oh, thank you, John. That's good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes unanimously. Well, where's Wellington's over there? I'm just keeping looking, trying to think. I don't think it's a particularly well-used thoroughfare, but still, that's a good idea, John. Get in the dark.
I mean, I don't know if there's any streetlights up there or not.
Exactly, you can get in the dark. Next, we have a town hall use permit from the Deerfield River Wild and Scenic Committee to use the town hall on November 20th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm just going to take a quick look to see if it mentions in here.
It's the Deerfield River Scenic organization. So the catch with this is that's the same night that we're also having the open space and recreation plan gathering to update. I've only had a handful of people respond to that, so I think that small working group for open space can meet here in this space, and we'll have the Deerfield River group in the larger space, and I think that will work out well. And probably members will go back and forth because it's all of a like-minded topic.
Okay, well, that's good.
I might not be able to make that meeting, is that okay?
That's okay. No, that's okay.
Good, okay. So we will make a motion then to approve permit application from Deerfield River Wild and Scenic Committee to use the town hall on November 20th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
I second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, and we're also, we don't have to mention the larger room, the smaller
No.
room, that's
No.
just a note to us. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Okay, minutes and warrants, minutes from October
I'll get those.
22nd, I read them too. Thank you, Mary, again.
Thanks for sending it to us.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve the minutes for October 22nd, 2024, as written.
I second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved. Thank you. We have the warrants now for the vendor warrants, 2510, and payroll warrants, 2510. And I'll make a motion to approve the payroll and vendor warrants for the period in November 5th, 2024.
I second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Good. Let's see, now we have items not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. I don't hear anything, okay. Not the one that was going to be the chair when I got here. Okay, select board member concerns?
I have no concerns, but I thought Halloween went off really smoothly.
Yes, and I didn't say it publicly, but Heather asked me to go out and talk to them about, because it's dark, and they went down and they were very receptive. It was a DEC electric company, and this guy, Brian, and he was very receptive. And I wanted to shout out to the Jacob. Well, Jacob went with me, so did Roger, but Jacob knew a lot of the stuff he was talking about from being to tech school, and it just made it easier for me. I was talking to him, and this guy would say it, and Jacob would go back, so it worked out pretty well, and it's been lit up out there finally, so.
Yeah, it's normal now.
Now, are they going through with the wires through that wall also?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so it should be finalized that way, so, good, and that's good. Okay, how about our town administrator's report, which you have been ranting and raving about since you got here?
Well, I just have a lot of really good news to share.
Oh, great.
Great.
So, let's see, we'll start off with our favorite construction updates. I've been trying to keep the website up to date on those, and I'll do another one tomorrow. We'll start with Conway Street. We know that 'tis the season. Moonlight Magic is coming up very quickly, and I know that the organizers of that event are concerned about whether that road will be clear, and also our elves that put up the lights will want to be able to access that as well. So we've heard that the barriers and the detour and the sidewalk should be open and clear by probably Tuesday of next week. It should be all done. I don't even know if we remember what it looked like before the barriers, but that it doesn't give the elves a lot of time, but it gives some time for us to get the lights up.
It's a good working group of elves I watched in the last year.
Yes,
many years.
yeah. And it also just makes sure that the Moonlight Magic event will be able to have their parade that comes up through.
Oh, people are going to, it's going to stay open.
It's going to stay open.
People are going to,
Yeah.
there's one right there who's quite happy to hear that, right, Dana?
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
go around.
and I know that the people that live along the detour, they've had a long season as well. So, very happy to have that project done. The final paving will not be done this year.
Okay.
They will come back in the spring and do that last bit of paving. That's at least the knowledge that I have right now. That's always subject to change as these things happen. But that's great news.
Very good news.
There's a small project that some of you may be aware of that is fixing some drainage that goes from State Street to North Street. That is going well, is a little ahead of schedule. They have, however, they've identified that the problem really exceeds the initial scope, that it is actually works its way across north and up the hill a little. So we're looking at the budget to see if there's available funds to be able to, while they're here, whether we can do a change order and make those corrections, or if it's something that we have to come back to. So I will be back in touch with the board with a change order if that's necessary.
Yeah, I walked by there today. They're real friendly guys. They asked if I was coming to help them.
Oh, that's great.
It's
That's
a
great.
huge project.
Well,
It looks huge.
It looks huge. It's really significantly impacting four properties as we are rebuilding a culvert path through there. So yeah, it'll be good. I think that it'll help all of the residents in the area who may have had some wet basements in recent years, as that culvert has.
Was that the one by Alan Jackson's that kept flooding before you could go up to the garage?
No, it's below that. Yeah.
Below that, okay.
I mean, well, to be quite honest with you,
It's right there
it
underpass.
could be chased all the way up there.
Yeah.
We're stopping it north for this season, but yeah.
Probably that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. North Street, the bigger reconstruction project is also scheduled. It looks like they've got their final paving and cleaning up some landscaping issues, and I know that the residents up there have all been pleased with when they have questions or concerns. Balthazar and the Mass DOT crew have been pretty accommodating. We even had somebody who just recently moved a mailbox and then woke up the next day to find that their mailbox was inaccessible because of the construction, and so the construction crew moved the mailbox so the property owner didn't have to go through it twice. So
They're done with the final coat, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, 'cause
yeah.
I saw this was open today when they went to the dump.
Yep. And, I mean, isn't that nice, to have a nice smooth ride all the way up to 112?
It's awesome.
Avery Road,
Yes.
they're sweeping tomorrow, and they'll be paving on Thursday. And then that road will be reopened, and hopefully immune from future damages, because we'll have a nice coat of pavement from beginning to end. And Charlemont Road Phase 2 is complete. They've also done some remediation work on what we call Charlemont Road Phase 1. If you recall at town meeting, there was some concerns from residents that there was some washout areas. So Clint and myself met with the engineer and looked at some options, and then I met the following day with the contractor, and we did a change order within the original scope of money left over from Phase 2, so without any additional costs to residents or taxpayers. We were able to get those fixes done.
That's wonderful.
It's amazing how much work was included in the depot parking lot.
Yes.
How
And
much
the
was
Beaver
that?
Park in Elm Street, the culvert, and the other day they put the
Yeah, guardrail up, yep,
That
yep, that
little
looks good.
town had a lot of road projects.
We did. So somebody came in and I thought that it was going to be another reminder of how much chaos we created this year with the construction, and their perspective was really appreciated and very refreshing, which is, thank you for getting it all done in 1 year at the same time that the Bridge of Flowers was out, which was completely not necessarily planned that way, but it was a happy circumstance. We've got a lot of construction done and out of the way, and, you know, as I've repeated, we're done for the time being. I don't see any village improvements.
I remember we sat here, hearing about all these things, and then we decided
Yeah.
that, all of us decided,
Yeah,
you know, our
yeah.
whole team decided, no, we've got to do them. We
Gotta
can't
do 'em.
put any more off for another 5
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
You know, I kind of like, you know, we could have worked
Yeah.
even though,
Yeah.
but I'm so, that was
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm glad we did it. I think we did that.
Yeah, yes,
Town
yeah,
did, yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And all of the construction and barrels will be out of the way for Moonlight Magic, which will give our village a chance to shine, as it always does on that night. Okay,
Ask
yeah.
about the Bridge of Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It looks nice for what they've done so far. They haven't done the water line yet, have they?
I honestly don't know. Yeah, I can call the water department and ask,
They
They
yeah.
have not.
They
That's
have
what
not.
somebody from the Bridge of Flowers Committee said last night at a women's club.
Well, I still saw a line going across, so I was saying an alternate
Yeah,
line.
yeah,
But,
but they're right on schedule.
it looks nice.
Yeah, it really does, it really does. The salt shed project, which we felt was in jeopardy of being pushed off to spring, received a much-needed boost. Joe Ray and his team, who have already done so much work for us this fall, volunteered to do the site work, which we had hoped our crew was going to be able to do, but once they got into it, they really realized that they needed some additional help with that. So they're doing that work this week, and the block laying will begin next Monday, the 18th, and we may indeed have a salt shed ready to rock and roll for this winter. So.
Another highway project.
I mean, and that one, we really sort of thought for sure was going to end up being pushed, but it looks like that will go through.
And that would mean get closer that we could get rid of that building?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
I would like to start thinking about that for the spring. We'll start talking about that maybe in February. The solar project of the wastewater treatment plant is complete. Final inspections have all happened. The electrical inspector, the building inspector, everybody is pleased with the work that was done there. We are moving forward with permission to operate from Eversource, and we're hoping that will come online in the next couple of months, just in time for the sun not to be too meaningful. But it'll be nice that we'll have everything done and tied up for that. let's see, we have liquor license renewals are coming up. In the month of November, the Mass General Law states that liquor license holders have to sign their renewals in the month of November. November 30th is the deadline for that activity. We have to have that back here in the building, where Thanksgiving falls on Thursday the 28th. And that Friday, the 29th, is a date that is Friday, we're not usually here. So we're just, and then of course Saturday is the 30th. We're reminding liquor license
Okay, you're remembering.
holders that Wednesday, the 27th, we'll be here all day, and happy to see them come in and make sure that we have that. So if anybody frequents establishments here and wants to make sure that they share that information, that, and we, in the letter that we sent.
If I know anybody, yes.
Yeah, we did include this information in the letter that we send to everybody in the cover letter, just reminding them that Thanksgiving holiday is falling late this year and really will impact that date of the 30th. And I know that the Eagles, they have taken some big steps in the last couple of days to update their manager. I know that was a concern for the board last year. So that's in the works and should be resolved by the time you renew.
Yeah.
A couple more things real quick. The town, when we borrowed for the construction of the highway garage, we had to go to S&P and get a bond rating, which is something the town had not had to do in the past.
Right.
The S&P has requested a meeting with the finance team, which would be Kara, myself, Pam, and Mike Cella. They have changed their criteria, and they have made it so that a town with less than 5,000 residents,
Yeah.
I guess the most simple way for this is that we are no longer eligible for a AA plus rating, only because of the size of our community. So we're expecting that our rating will be decreased as a result of the fact that we have less than 5,000 people. We've met with our advisors. There doesn't seem to be any way around this. It's completely capricious. But I just want to give you all a heads up that meeting is coming up on Thursday. We will do our best to show our financial stability, and that we will, ask them to not decrease our rating. I guess the only upside is that we don't have any long-term borrowing planned. The notes that we already have, those rates won't change. So there's really no other than principle, let's see, that Mohawk Trail Regional High School has reached out to let us know that they had a water heater fail on them at the high school, and that they are preparing a capital borrowing article for town meeting to the tune of $25,000. So we received that letter, and we'll have to work through that during our budget process.
And that will be shared by how many communities?
All of 5.
9 towns.
Nine, five, yeah.
Yeah, 5 schools, yeah.
Yeah. And then the last is just a sense from the board whether or not you would support an application that has, for a grant that has come up, that we could purchase 2 of the solar-powered speed signs, one for Conway, one for North. They're the speed signs that...
Movable, transferable to another spot?
They can, but these are designed to stay. They collect data that would be then available to the police department so that they can track whether there's a time of day where the speed is more or less, and it stops short at taking pictures of license plates. But it does give, yeah, but they would provide the police department
You're
with
saying
some
North
data. North Street would get one in Conway. I've had, the Public Safety Committee has received multiple requests from residents who are experiencing a higher rate of speed as a result of the road improvements.
Oh, we're even on Elm Street, just people just, I think they've
Yeah.
forgotten how to drive.
Hopefully that will lessen
Yeah.
now that they can speed on Conway again.
But definitely North Street, I'm happy, because
Yeah.
as I said, it looks so nice, and I can just see people flying to get to the high school, and not mean,
Yeah, I mean, both areas do have sidewalk, but this would just, give us one more tool, and it could certainly go a long way to show residents that we hear them, and that we understand that they're concerned about the speed. I think South Street is really sort of where it really picks up. So,
North Street will be.
yes, absolutely. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to prepare an application. I'll bring it back for your review, and I'm working with Chief Bardwell on that as well, so that he's helping select the specifications of the
We
signs.
don't have one on State Street, right?
Yes, there's one down by the fire district building.
I just never, does it really tell?
Yeah,
It hasn't been too bad, believe it or not, on State Street, it hasn't been, it's 30 miles an hour anyways in that
Right,
street.
that's reasonable.
And most people, as they go, I mean, I find myself even looking down and maybe going 32 or 33, but you catch yourself, it's not bad. I worry more about, as I said, North Street, I've been saying that since the beginning, and I even worry some of our, just where I live, I mean, people fly through
Yeah.
there. And which I don't understand, because it's a dead end, so there are people who live up there. And I've tried to talk to them too, but I can't go up and drive speed by their houses.
No, I know.
That's a
Well,
great opportunity.
yeah, so if it's good, normally, I like to bring the application to you, and I'll make sure that I've just got to watch the deadlines. We're talking less than $10,000, so it's not a significant grant that I'm applying for, but I just want to make sure that you're all on board.
I like that, and also, as they said, if you can, I don't know how we do this. When I look at there, people tell me there's no real sign on Elm, and I would love to have, there's one near the top across from my house that wobbles in the wind, and I stuck out there at 25. If we can get a couple of us, then both coming up and going down 25 miles
Yeah.
per hour, or if, let's do one, I don't want to decrease it,
Yeah.
I think we don't need to go to 20, but I think they need reminders.
Yeah, so the Public Safety Committee has this on their agenda. They've been reviewing all of the streets in Buckland, and they're going to come in with a formal recommendation for the board of what streets should have a speed limit adjustment, and also a request for signage. So we're trying to look at it, a holistic approach, and they'll make some recommendations, and there'll be a dollar number that will be associated, because there'll be signs to be purchased.
So these devices, will they, like, tell you if you're going faster?
Yeah.
Oh, they say it, yeah.
Yeah,
It'll flash.
there'll be the slow down.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, if you're going too fast, it'll take note that you're going too fast, and not only will you have knowledge of that, but the data will be collected.
And you'll say things like, the woman in the white Prius with the black Beret. No, it doesn't have, they don't have that. She already said that. They don't have the license pictures.
Yeah.
That would be very funny if it did that.
Well, I mean, I think that it's, like I said, it's just an opportunity to make people more aware of how fast that they're going, and I have shared, but I was recently notified by being pulled over, coming up the Mohawk Trail by a very polite Shelburne officer who suggested that I needed to consider my speed, that there was nothing so important happening at the town hall that I couldn't slow down just a little bit. Well, no,
So would these signs only go one way? Would it be for people coming down or people going up or north?
That's a good question. I think, again, public safety will be involved and make some recommendations.
And the same thing with
That is a
Conway.
good question.
You know, which direction
Yeah.
is it going to be?
Well, let me price out the signs, and maybe we can look at getting 4, so that there's one going in each direction.
I really think it'd be necessary, I agree with you 100% at North Street, because, you know, if we see the wet, they might go slow, but after school, wahoo.
Yeah, no, fair enough, that's a good point.
I'm very impressed with how much we got accomplished as a town. I wrote all that down, Conway North, Avery, Charlemont, it's just making me smile, so.
Yeah. Well, it's making me sleepy.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, I know that,
Upper Elm, we have to take care of within the next year or so, remember,
Yeah,
Derek, to
yeah,
get that done.
yeah.
But I knew all these were in the way, but they're getting
Yeah.
out of the way now,
yep,
so.
yep.
It's better
Very
than keeping
pleased.
you up at night.
True. I know Anthony will sleep a lot better, knowing that Elm Street is taken care of, that culvert has been replaced.
yeah.
So that was something that we would spend a lot of time being anxious about last winter, so.
It's never, you wonder if it's gonna be. or
Yes,
not.
you do.
They did a nice job, and we've already shouted out to them
Yeah.
before. I'm really glad, in fact, that I shouted not just to Joe Ray, but to our local, to Hillman, they're up there, and jumping in and really helping the town, and
Yeah. I was-
doing a great job.
I was just gonna suggest that if anybody is as nerdy and as geeky about culverts as I am, you wanna go up to Avery Road when it's finished, when it's open, and take a look at some of these culvert walls that between Hillman and Joe Ray's team that built. It's an art.
Oh, yeah.
And it's some of the finest work I've ever seen. It's really beautifully done. It's great. So, so that's all I have for you tonight, unless you have any other questions.
No, I have none.
Kind of fun if we had a video of all the improvements and then you put it on our website.
Okay. Yeah.
We gotta-
Mary, will you be the actress, the model that I can, I'll video it and you can take us on a tour of all of the projects that we've done this year.
Oh, God.
And she'll be speaking soon, and here we're approaching Avery Road.
I think it'd be fun, but I don't want to.
You don't want to break your camera, do you?
No, we could, maybe we'll get the, we'll get Team Buckland and we'll divide it and
That
we'll,
would be fun.
yeah.
Get Elizabeth to talk, just that geek.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. No, we'll get the whole crew.
Yes, that's a good
That's a
group.
huge amount to accomplish, and I can't think of
I
any
know.
other town in our area that has probably done that much.
No.
Well, we are gluttons for punishment, and nobody is going to question our whether or not we've lost our minds. But
That's well known.
I'm just happy that that we're wrapping up this season and looking forward to a very quiet 2025. And we'll let the businesses get back on their feet, and I know that they've been impacted by this, and my hope is that the local residents will really support them and
I'm so
help.
happy not to come up with
Yeah.
the road tracks and go around.
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's been a long haul.
Yeah, it has. No. Okay, now we got any public comment, but we have, unless Dane has a comment to make, we don't have any more public, we're all public, but. Okay, now we have upcoming meetings. Now, usually we're scheduled the 2nd and 4th, the
Yeah.
9th and the 23rd, are we?
Yeah, well, we've got a meeting, I'm hoping that you're up for the meeting on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, which is,
What's the October calendars over here?
26.
yep.
The
The-
26th.
Yeah, the 26th,
Yeah,
that Tuesday night.
yes.
It'll be a quick one. I just have a couple of items that I want to make sure that we have in front of you.
Yeah. And
That
then we can worry about December.
Yep, and, right, and because December, you would normally have one,
9th, 23rd.
well, the 10th and the 24th.
Was it? Okay, yep.
But I think,
I'm
I
looking
think, yeah, I think maybe the meeting on the 24th, we
Yeah,
could
might be.
probably skip.
Yeah, I was gonna recommend, might be a good idea to
Yeah.
think about that. Yeah. All right, well, that's good.
Because we'll take care of licenses at the meeting on the 10th.
Okay.
And so, and that's really, in December, that's your primary responsibility, is making sure that the town stays liquored up for the next year.
Want to rephrase that? Okay, so I think we're going to, since we see we've accomplished everything, we're going to adjourn this meeting tonight. So as of now, the select board meeting for Tuesday, November 12th, 2025 is officially ended.
I don't have to second that.
He should move to adjourn.
We move to adjourn. Thank you.
I
Okay.
second that.
Geez, I can say,
Sorry.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I appreciate that, Paul.
We only have
No,
one
seriously,
paper to
it's, we
sign
don't do
today?